Welcome to another episode of the Balancing Hormones Naturally podcast, where we offer actions and steps you can take today to start balancing your hormones naturally. This is your podcast host, Leah Brueggemann. I am a functional diagnostic nutritional practitioner. I am honored and excited to be your guide on your journey to better understanding your hormonal health and how it affects your everyday life. Hey ladies, welcome back to another episode. So on Instagram, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should follow me on Instagram. We did a Q&A because I keep getting a lot of requests to bring my husband on the podcast and have him chat about, I don't know, the husband side of things. So we did a Q&A. So you asked some Q's, we got some A's. So anyways, this is my husband. And I'll tell you my first fun fact about him. His name's actually John, but if you follow me on Instagram, you always see me call him Sub because that's his middle name. And for some reason
Sebastian is my middle name.
That's right. But I always call you by your middle name. So that really confuses people, especially at your work, because if they start following you on Instagram or people you went to school with, they're always like, who's Seb? I'm like, well, that's my husband. And they're like, I thought your husband was John. And then they're like, do you have two?
Yep.
Anyway.
I'm the side guy.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I was doing outpatient and now I'm doing inpatient rehab. Or not inpatient, home health. I don't even know what I do apparently. So, yeah. No, home health care. And then I'm a husband and a dad.
Yeah.
Super exciting. Love to golf. Loves to run.
You do like to golf. Yeah. You got Landon into that. He asked to swing his golf clubs. Okay. So, are you ready for some cues? It should be good.
Yes.
It should be good. Number one is always what's it like being married to somebody who talks about periods for a living?
It's an interesting way to look at it. You don't see that in high school, on the job fair day.
That's true.
It's an adjustment. It definitely is a learning curve on getting used to it. I think for all guys it's kind of awkward at first until you get exposure to it. I think
maybe it's how you're brought up.
Yeah.
I had a lot of brothers, and that was the best way to get out of anything. It'd be like, I have cramps, and they would immediately just be like, ah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that should be weird though.
I'm not saying it should be. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think it's not surprising when it is.
Yeah, I guess Landon will not be weirded out by periods.
Hopefully.
But now it's whatever.
Yeah, that's not weird anymore. It's just it is weird when I'm at work and somebody I work with asks me what my wife does. I'm kind of just I really don't know how to explain this without it sounding really weird.
Yeah.
So I'm normally just oh, she's an FDNP. And then they're like, oh, what's that? And then I'm like, I don't really know.
That's not very useful. Okay, so I don't know why, but that's funny. I guess it's more so hormonal balance. But yeah, everybody just immediately goes to periods because that's what your brother is like too. Leah fixes people's periods. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you could go with that.
But no, really, I'm just she's an FDNP. She does a lot of lab work for people, helps them to feel better, supplements, diets, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just a learning curve.
Yeah. So what did you think? I don't know. You didn't think you were getting into this when we got married. into alternative health as much. So was that an adjustment?
Not really. Because when you first started, I always told you should do your own thing. I don't really remember when you started the other stuff. I don't know if that was before or after we got married.
I think it was a few months after we got married.
It was
maybe.
after, yeah. That's right, because right before we got married, you were very big into the performing
Yeah, I was
music
doing.
stuff.
Yeah, mostly
So no, I
just
definitely didn't
performance.
expect that. What was the question? I totally forgot.
Oh, did you expect us to like head so much into alternative health? Like,
Not for like business or occupation. No.
yeah,
I always knew you would do that for yourself just
yeah,
because that's how your mom is. So, and you were always kind of that way.
yeah.
So, I always expected our family to be that way, but not necessarily you would be like helping other women do that.
Mm-hmm. So this is a good one. Are you ready?
Is it a doozy?
Yeah, it's a doozy. Was it hard switching over products and stuff and like reading labels? Like, I had. Let's phrase it in two ways. Was it hard first to like start reading labels and being like, oh, Leah's probably not gonna like it if I buy this product? Like for food, like reading ingredients and then like switching over like cleaning products and that was that like a massive adjustment like for you?
No, because despite popular culture's opinion, homeschoolers know how to read. So no. Yes, it was difficult at first, but I feel like when I stopped trying to understand everything and understand all the rules, it was like if I was doing the grocery shopping, I would be like, okay, when I buy salad dressing, what do I not buy? And then you'd be like, oh, carrageenan and
Yeah.
soybean or whatever,
Yeah.
like you'd give me some things to look for. And then depending on what level you already do it at, like it's not that big of an adjustment as far as like ingredients. But again, it's mostly, it wasn't hard for me because I think so much. So I'd just be like,
Good brand or bad brand?
good brand or bad brand. Where there are some like bumps in the road with that is when you're like, oh, I can't buy X product. So you have to
Yeah.
get an alternative. And then you try something else out and you don't like it. Like if it's shampoo and it smells weird or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that's where the
Yeah.
bumps come in. I don't necessarily think it's hard to find this stuff,
It's hard.
depending on what it is. But
Yeah. I feel like it's really hard to find non-toxic stuff that
yeah,
works.
yeah, there we go.
So,
I'm just thinking about food.
yeah, but like we went through like toothpaste brands for example, like before we found Boca. Um and what else? I mean, we went through laundry detergents, we
Yeah,
went through like cleaning supplies for a
cleaning supplies
while,
is a big one.
hair product. It's just
It was like
hard.
the biggest, I think, product change that I used was like the shampoo stuff, like the
Yeah.
shampoo and like the shower stuff. Because there for a while we were using this like stuff that was like green apple, and most guys I know, including myself, don't like to smell like a green apple. So it's hard in that way to find something. So like
Yeah.
when I'm like if I'm switching something over, all about like the women's stuff, but you don't necessarily know about the men's
Yeah.
product that's different. So sometimes like finding that is difficult
Yeah.
but doable.
I agree. So then the next spin-off question is how do you approach that conversation like with your husband? Like if you were like what's a good way to approach that with you? I don't even remember what I did with you. Um
Well, I think kind of how you would go about it is you would, so like you can't just switch something out without knowing why. So like you
yeah.
would typically come back from reading a book or hearing a seminar or listening to a podcast or whatever, and you'd
Yeah.
learn about this thing that is the worst thing in the world ever known to mankind.
And then look
And
into
then
it.
you would look into it and whatever else and then decide to change it, and then you'd come up to me and you'd be like, "Hey, I just learned that I don't know, like PUFAs are like bad, or I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe they're
It
good. I
was
don't know,
PFAS.
but
Yeah.
whatever. Like these things are, terrible, and like here's why X, Y, Z, and we really need to get rid of them. Or like plastic stuff, which like we
Yeah.
were both kind of on the board at the same time with that. So maybe that's a bad example, but
Oh my goodness. I just
like
think
is but like basically you would tell me the problem it
yeah.
has and like what problems it can cause, and then you'd be like, and then here's the solution to the problem, and then I was just like, all right, sweet, we already got it, let's do that.
Yeah.
And
You like data.
yeah,
Like
yeah, so I like to know why it's a problem, and then I like to know that there is a solution out there that's not just like Dr. Joe Blow is writing this book on why PFAS
Yeah.
are bad, and then he's also selling a PFA-free product. Like, that's
Right.
stupid.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, no, no. I get that. And then I think too, like you liked seeing the data and you liked having like an alternative to switch over to that actually worked. But
It wasn't
um
always easy. I
yeah.
think when I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, it was fine. But I think there's probably some bumps in the road.
Yeah, I think when we switched to cast iron, like pans, like getting rid of like non-stick pans, I feel like that was a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, it was hard to not put tomato sauce in them.
I also think too, like a really good book that I feel like really got us on the same page was Boys Adrift
Yeah,
by
Dr. Sachs.
yeah, because he goes over endocrine disruptors and specifically how they affect men and
And just
boys.
like
Yeah.
children in
Yeah.
general. But like all of his, the only one of his books I haven't read is Girls on Edge,
Because we
and
don't
they're
have
all
any
really
girls.
good. All of his books are good. Highly recommend them.
Yeah. Those are really it was really helpful to see that with like the plastics and
Plastics.
stuff. Okay. Okay, questions. I'm like losing them. Sorry, 1 second.
If this was memory, you'd be really bad because you keep opening the same one.
I know, I'm really bad. Do you have advice for a husband to be marrying a woman with decently severe hormonal symptoms, perhaps in how to help navigate the cycle, sinking, mood swings, weaknesses, etc.? It's a tricky one.
It is a tough question. So I think how I would start to answer that question
Yeah.
is, yeah, really how to start to answer the question is make sure he sees that there's a problem there. Like, so if you have an issue with something, make sure he's aware. Because, like, guys are pretty oblivious. And,
Like it's
like,
actually a hormonal issue. I'm not just crazy.
you're not just in a bad mood, or
Right.
it's not just that time of the month or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
make sure that he's aware and understanding of the issue, and that it's not just normal. Because a lot of guys, they have a sister, or what their mom told them, or what a previous girlfriend told them, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they just think it's normal. So I think framing to them, that there is an issue there. Um, and then just, really you have to communicate well to them, that you have to communicate well to them that there is a problem there, and that you just need support with your health. It's like a very personal thing. It's important to your health, and that they need to help. I think if you really just frame that you have a problem and make sure they understand,
Yeah.
they'll know what to do. I mean, you're marrying the guy, so he must be a decent guy. So if you're like, hey, I'm having these problems and I think I need some help,
Yeah.
like I think they'll show up. But then for the guy, what the guy should do, he should show up. Like,
Yeah.
if you're needing help, he should do those things. Maybe you have to spell it out for him, but be like, hey, can we eat spicy foods during this time and cooling foods during this time, or whatever,
Yeah.
and just get him on board. And then, like, check yourself too. So, like, if this is something that makes you insecure, ask him not to make jokes about it or something, like,
Yeah.
just like, make sure you communicate well and set the boundaries. I think that's
Yeah.
a good thing. And then
That's my biggest pet peeve is when people are like, "Oh, is it that time of the month? Is that why you're being witchy?"
you kind of had like a reaction when I said that.
Yeah, because I think that I don't like it when people say that, but I have a bouncing off like point of view, even though I know nobody asked my opinion on this. If you are I think that if you have these issues, right, and you have them, if you are actively working to resolve them, like they're there, they should be there to support you and all of that. But I don't think it's fair to you or your relationship to just be like, well, I'm hormonal.
Yeah. So, like, if you're just like, what's your advice to my husband to be?
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm hormonal and moody and blah 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 because I have these issues. You're not hormonal. Like, being hormonal is not a part of your identity.
Yeah.
And you have to thrush that out. It can't just be like, well, I have hormonal issues, that's why I'm this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to make sure that I don't know, it's not like a cognitive distortion or something.
Yeah,
I
like
don't know.
you are not your hormonal issues, and you
Yeah.
can actively
It's a
work.
symptom.
Yeah.
It's not like a written in stone sort of thing.
Yes, you
I think
can.
is important too. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, because you can actively resolve those.
Yeah.
And if you are actively working, then, like Seb said, like if you're obviously marrying him, so he's a good guy, he should support you in that. I think some things, like simple things that are just helpful and I feel like you do this. You've picked up pads for me before at the store, and like,
I was
yeah,
I feel like I remember doing that, but I don't.
yeah,
I
but
probably
like,
there's a
I
word
don't
for it,
know.
but when you like block something out of your mind, I probably did that.
You've done that before, but when you've cooked, you're like, what phase are we in? Like, are we making? And so that's helpful. Having like you can either print off the cycle syncing spreadsheet and like put it on your fridge until he gets comfortable. But like you kind of knowing, and then also supporting with like, hey, I can't eat this food right now because of such and such. And then you're just not grumbling about it, or you'll
Unless
make
it's
other
ice cream.
options. You do like ice cream. We're going to take a quick moment for today's sponsor. If you're anything like me, it's kind of hard to remember to always grind your seeds before putting them in your smoothie or making protein balls, and it's also time consuming. And my husband was not such a big fan of finding flax seeds stuck in the coffee grinder. I don't know why flax seeds were the ones that always got stuck there, but they did. And that is why I really love using Funk It Wellness subscription. You guys, you can choose how you want to have it shipped to you, and it comes every single month. I never run out. They're ground right before they're sent to me, so I know that they're not rancid, and I just can stick them in my fridge. It's only 2 bags because they blend the pumpkin and the flax together, and they put the sesame and the sunflower together, so you don't have a million bags of seeds. And they taste so good. They're organic, B Corp certified. These seeds are like, you can actually taste the difference. They taste amazing. But I just keep them in my fridge, and then I pull out 2 tablespoons every single day of whichever bag that I am needing at that time, and I'll put them in my oatmeal, I'll put them on a rice cake, I will put them in a salad, I'll put them in a smoothie, whatever I'm feeling at the time. And it's such an easy way to be consistent with your seed cycling. My seed cycling consistency game definitely stepped up when I started using Funk It Wellness seeds. So let me tell you how to save the money. You can go to funkitwellness.com, get the seed cycling kit, do the subscription one, and you'll already get free shipping and a discount. And then use the code LEAH15, LEAH 15, and you'll get an extra 15% off, bringing the cost down and making it so cost effective to do your seed cycling. So if you end up on using Funk It Wellness seeds, please tell me, because I think that you will thoroughly enjoy them. That's true. Okay. So the thing is, the questions, like, I don't know, they just are confusing to try and open. Should guys follow the fat, carb, protein at every meal and snack too for weight loss? It's an interesting one.
I mean, what's the guy's goal? Like
Yeah.
is he like lifting a lot? He probably needs a little bit more protein or something. But yeah, I mean, I think that whole and Leah can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that whole combination is just to balance your blood sugar when
Yeah.
you're eating, to make sure it's not spiking, and then dropping rapidly, and just kind of helping keeping it all cool. So I think it's a good idea. Now, with that being said, do I do that all the time? No. Sometimes I just have a whole entire bag of chips and an entire thing of salsa. Like that, I'm pretty sure that's like all carbs. So, but in like, I'm not like a super strict person on it,
Yeah.
but I try to. I'm like, hey, if I'm going to have an apple and a banana, I'm also going to throw some nut butter in there.
Yep.
Like, I think it's a good idea. But again, if you're married, or this is a fiance or your boyfriend or whatever, if you're going to be like, hey, you have to do this, he's not going to do it. So like,
That's true.
I think your best bet would to just be like, hey, this is about blood sugar. It's not about guy parts, girl parts. It's,
Yeah.
it's like this is a blood sugar thing. We all have blood sugar and it should be balanced out. It should, but again, you don't have to be super strict, but explain that, and I think they'd be on board. Like,
Yeah.
who doesn't like an apple and peanut butter or almond butter? I think it's awesome.
But when your blood sugar is balanced, you don't get hangry.
Is hangry real though? That's debatable. That's debatable.
I think
Dr. Kevin Majors, look him up.
I think hangry's real. Does it take men a while to be comfortable about periods and being supportive around the female reproductive system?
Didn't we answer this one already?
I mean, it's
I
just
guess it's
phrased
kind
a
of
different
similar.
way.
So I would assume, yeah. So like the first part, I feel like we kind of already answered. It was for me to get used to like periods and stuff.
Yeah.
But with a background in bio and then physical therapy, taking a lot of anatomy classes and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it's not awkward at all for me anymore. And then once you have kids and stuff, like, no, like it's just it's a fact of life. I think once you get, like, again, like how you're raised and you're brought up, like it could be awkward at first, but like once you just like get desensitized to it and kind of mature into it a little bit, it's literally just life. It's
Yeah.
a cycle. It's a cycle of life, and like men and women, they kind of go together, and it's just like, it's like men have their things, women have their things, and like you see it all over in nature, and it's a beautiful thing, and like once you get used to it, it's not weird. It's just a learning curve.
Yeah. And I think if you don't make it weird when you're talking about it, that's helpful. Are there more doors or wheels in the world?
So we had this conversation at my old job before I left there. I feel like this is like one of those critical thinking questions, which, side note, in PT school, so this was just a few years ago, my advisor told me that I struggled with critical thinking. So don't trust my answer to this question. But definitely doors, because if you go into a kitchen, look at how many doors are. There's 3 on the refrigerator. There's, so many on each cabinet. And then it's like, look at how many wheels there are. There's not many. If you have drawers that roll out, there's a couple on those, but not a lot. I mean, some computers have wheels and stuff on the inside, but everything's like going solid state these days. So there's got to be more doors. Look at a house. How many wheels are in a house? Not very many. But if you look at like an air conditioning unit, like there's just like so many access doors, access panels. They're all over the place. It's got to be doors. And then all you people who are really good at critical thinking are probably like, yeah, this guy definitely cannot critically think. Because behind all those doors are wheels.
I don't know.
Definitely doors. Wheels are the useful tool of the past. You got to open doors now.
Oh my Lanta. What do you do to support like me and my cycle, or me and my hormones? Like, what do you do day to day? It's kind of hard because right now I'm pregnant, so I don't have a cycle.
Yeah,
but
so with
pregnant.
your cycle, I don't really know if there's anything. I mean, I think a big thing is I don't tease you about anything. Like if you're doing something for your health, like I don't belittle it at all.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm on board. I'm bought into it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. And then like when you need something, I'm like, yeah, like, sure, I'm in. Like I've committed to being on your team. And so just like if there's something you need, like maybe if it's something I'm kind of ostentatious or like set back from, I'm like weed through it a little bit with you. But for the most part, I'm just bought into getting you what you need. So I think that's helpful. Yeah. As far as like your cycle and stuff, I think I'm into the, spicy foods, cooling foods. I love the spicy phase. I try to stretch it out a little bit. Like you're like, oh, we're in the cooling phase now. I'm like, oh, a couple more days of spicy food. But for the most part, doing the food things, I'm just open to trying new stuff. And then I feel like at the same time you're open to, if like it's something I don't want to do, you're like, okay, that's fine.
I'll find an alternative.
You know what I mean? Like if it's like showers, like shampoo or something, and okay, we're going to switch to this shampoo, and I try it and I'm like, I don't like it, I'm not doing it. You don't like break down, you're just like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll try and find a middle ground somewhere.
Yeah. And we did.
Cooperate. Yeah.
I have to agree. You don't belittle me, even though sometimes I can see the wheels in your brain turning of like, how does this make sense? But I will say you're a good sounding board if I need to talk through something and be like, okay,
Because
so
I just never listen and you can talk it out.
You do listen, but I do have to make sure that you're paying attention to me because, like, I voice message so many things on my phone. Sometimes I'll start talking to you and then I'll ask you, like, why are you not answering? You're like, oh, I thought you were talking to your client.
Yeah, so it's not awkward to be around Leah when she's working because of like periods and stuff anymore. It's just awkward because like you walk into a room and she starts talking and you answer and then you realize she's talking not to you, and you do this every day, every single day. Like it's the same thing. And then so like sometimes I'll hear her talking and I'll just ignore it now, and she'll just be like, "Hello," and I'm like, "What?" So my ignoring you is actually your fault. So
You are good to like talk through things, which I think is
I
like,
think I'm good at that.
Yeah.
I think I'm a good co-captain.
yeah, you're a good sounding board. And you are open to new things, and you always are like, okay, so what are the pros, what are the cons, and like, what are the results or whatever. Which I guess does bring me like to one of the questions someone asked last time, I think, which was, how is it like if someone like has hormonal issues and they're like, okay, I need to do something about this and I think this is going to be a good plan, but scared like husband or boyfriend or fiance is going to like belittle it or not understand, especially if it's a bigger investment, excuse me, because it's kind of scary to do that, I think sometimes too, because the hormonal issue at that point is the known, that's
Yeah.
what you're used to. And so how would you approach that conversation of like, hey, I think this is what's going on with me and I need some help?
I think that's tough because it varies guy to guy on what a guy's going to respond to. But for the most part, I really think it comes down to getting their attention enough so that he is like paying attention when you're talking, and then like explaining your problem, and then like don't necessarily explain the problem when you're upset about having the problem. Come from like a calm
Yeah.
time and like really portray and be like, look, here's these issues that I'm having and here's why. And like again, so like if he's typically that way, like more skeptical and cynical, there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. Then just like prepare yourself for that. Just be like, okay, he's normally this way, so when I start this conversation, I'm just going to ask him to just listen. He doesn't have to say anything, just listen to this, and then spell out your problem and how you're having it, and like spell out why, and then how you need it to be fixed. And then I think if you spell all that out, he'll be bought into finding a solution. And so maybe you don't even give him the solution at the same time. Maybe that's the next day. Because like I think a lot of times guys are a little bit more skeptical. And so like kind of showing that you have a problem and then telling him you have a solution and here's why. I think that he would naturally go to that solution if you find one or you have one, if he understands that there's a problem. If he doesn't understand that there's a problem, he's not going to be in with it.
And I think sometimes women are really, really good at just pretending like everything's fine, even though like you're crying behind doors or you're struggling to like get up in the morning and take care of the kids. And that's one of the biggest things that I've heard from like clients is like how much balancing their hormones help their marriage.
Yeah, because again, like you really have to make sure your man understands, and because like when we guys pay attention, I think we do a really good job of listening, and like it's just natural for guys to want to fix things. Like guys
Yeah.
are very solution oriented, so like when girls have a problem, they like to talk about it, and then guys like to be like, here's here's a solution, let's find a solution. Or if there's somebody that, hurt your feelings, or guys are like, yeah, F that guy. And like they want to solve the problem, as opposed to just like listen to it and then relate and then just not do anything. Like guys want to do something. So if you like get their attention, be like, look, I'm having all these problems. Here's why it's a problem. This is why it's wrong. This is what it should be. Here's the solution. The guy's going to be like, yes, there's a solution to this. Let's do it. Because you spelled out the problem that you're having and that it can't be fixed. I think it's natural for a guy to then go to the next step of fixing it.
Yeah. I think if they don't see the problem, like, oh, hey, I just want to do blah, 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 and it costs this much money, they're like, well, why would we do that? And then also, if, however long you've been dealing with this, all the things you've been trying haven't been working, you need to try something new.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, this is not about hormones, but do most guys want to be the financial supporter? I'm a woman and I just feel my place is more at home, working on things at the house. I'd like part-time, just not full-time. What are your thoughts? Well, I mean, she probably needs to talk to whoever.
I have a lot of thoughts. Sometimes my thoughts are crazy.
Well.
What are my thoughts on what you asked?
Yes.
I think yeah, for the most part, most men want to be, the financial supporter. I think, what it means, part of what it means to be a man, at least, is, to provide. You want to be a provider. So I think that's natural for a man to want to be the one to do that. Now, if you're like, I want to do something kind of on the side, like, hey, I'm happy at home, you didn't say anything about kids, but I'm assuming there's kids there, like that's,
or not,
again, that's an assumption. Maybe there's not, and like if there's not, absolutely go do something part-time, because I don't know about you, but I'd be bored AF just sitting at home by myself for however many hours your man's at work. Yeah, so like I in that case, yeah, absolutely. If you've got like kids and stuff and you're wanting to do something part-time, I think that's, you got to talk to each other. You shouldn't be asking me what my thoughts are. You should be asking what his thoughts are.
Yeah, I have to second that one, because everyone's different there. Okay, are most guys pretty understanding when a girl is moody, or do they get their feelings hurt?
Guys don't have feelings.
You have feelings.
Have you seen that, I don't know, I always call them memes, but they're reels going around.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, where they're working out and they're like, what do you do with your feelings? And it's like, push them down. What do you do with your feelings? Lift big things. What are they going to? Your muscles. I don't know if that's how it goes, but it's funny.
I haven't
but
seen
no,
that.
Guys don't have feelings.
Yes, you do.
But when you're moody, I think that depends on the scenario. So like if you're just like in a bad mood, no, like everybody has a bad mood, no big deal. I think where that can become an issue is when you're like venting or you're like taking it out on something. So like you're just you're moody because of a health issue or something. Ouch. And just like no matter what the guy does, you're just like in a bad mood. So like he comes home from work. So like I again, I don't think it's necessarily so much it hurts our feelings, but like it can kind of make us jaded a little bit. So like say, I'm just going to paint an example. So like Joe is a construction worker, so he has a very physical job. He goes and he pours concrete for, 16 hours a day. He comes home and he just wants to lay on the couch and drink a beer, because he's been just like busting his butt all day. And so like, and then he comes in and, like if you're moody or something, he's not going to be able to relate to that because he's not open. And I'm not saying the guy's in the right here. I'm definitely not. I'm just saying that this is where an issue can come from with the moodiness, is where the guy has an objective in mind and a plan in mind, and then somebody's moody or something, and it kind of it causes tension there. And again, so like the wife's issues are just as big as the guy's, or even bigger, because it's like a health problem, whereas his is occupational. So like you tell me which is more important, probably health. But I don't necessarily think it would hurt his feelings. Like if you asked him the next day, did that hurt your feelings? No, it was probably just like it wasn't what I wanted to do
It's
after I was
frustrating.
this tired. It's more frustrating, I think. Yeah, it's more
Communication.
frustrating. But again, I think it all depends on the situation. Like, there's definitely times where moodiness could definitely hurt someone's feelings. Like, especially like if maybe there's something important in the guy's life and he's like trying to talk about it and you're just like too moody to listen. That would hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
But like if like I just got back from golfing and I'm in a good mood and you're moody, like, no, absolutely not. Like, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. So I think it depends on the situation and then kind of what you do when you're moody. So like when I hear moody, I just kind of think of what Leah does, and that's just she just doesn't talk. She just kind of does her thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, again, sometimes like if she's just like just needs a little bit of space, that doesn't bother me. But if like I'm trying to have an important conversation and she's moody and she just like shuts down in the conversation, absolutely that hurts my feelings, because like I'm
Yeah.
trying to have a conversation and she's shut down.
Yeah. I don't know.
Not that that
Yeah.
happens all the time. I mean, it does, but I'm just
I want to take a moment to invite you and let you know that applications for one-on-one coaching are open. The next round is in November, and I'm super excited about it. So I just wanted to share a little bit about what you can expect from one-on-one coaching. Like, is one-on-one coaching even a good fit for you? So application for one-on-one coaching is in the link in my bio. Go ahead and click that. You can read even more about it. Link in my bio. Leah, why do I keep saying that? Link is in the show notes. Get it together. And you can go ahead and apply there. You do have to apply for one-on-one coaching. We do have limited spots available. We only take 10 at a time because we obviously work very closely with you. We run labs, all that good stuff. So I want to tell you a little bit about kind of what happens. So it is 4 months, and we will work together closely during that time. You get 3 group calls a week. And the reason why I do group is I wanted a combination of you getting one-on-one coaching from me, but also a community of women that are working together for the same goals, because it can be lonely and it can be frustrating. And also on top of that, everybody has different questions. So it's fun to get to know like other aspects of health, and you're like, oh my gosh, I was struggling with that, but I didn't even maybe realize, but somebody else asked a question. And then, so I love the community aspect of that as well. But you do have Voxer support, which is a voice text messaging app, Monday through Friday. It's like having your practitioner in your back pocket. We do run labs. A Dutch hormone panel and a hair mineral analysis are both included, and you will get that test sent to you, and then you get the analysis video, everything broken down, personalized protocols, all of that good stuff. So one-on-one coaching would be for you over like a group program. You need way more customized support. You want that longer container. You want to run the labs. You are just like, I have 1,000 questions and I want to be able to talk to you and have your eyeballs on my food journal every single week. I want you to be like really in depth on what's going on in my cycle. Maybe you have endometriosis, maybe you have like a chronic condition, you've been struggling for a really long time, or you're just like, you know what, I really just want the dedicated one-on-one support, then this would be for you. So I have a bunch of testimonials from when I worked with. If you go to the application, you can go ahead and look at them. And of course, I love connecting you with some of my previous one-on-one clients. If you're like, hey, I want to talk to someone who's been through it, because I understand it can be like a scary investment, but at the same time, like, you guys, your health is so worth it. If you've been feeling crappy for a really long time, I mean, it's priceless. It's priceless to finally feel better. I've worked with so many endo clients and women who just have been feeling horrible for so long, and I love hearing from you that, you know, you are a nurse and you don't have to call in sick anymore because of your periods. You have energy. You don't have to like rely on coffee anymore. You play with your kids again. I get messages from husbands being like, I have my wife back. So if you are interested in this, then I would highly recommend going and applying, and then we will chat. All details about everything that's included, pricing and everything is in the application. I will say, well, since I've had Landon, I don't really have mood, like hormonal moodiness.
He's just been so good for your moodiness.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's kind of when everything
No, I don't
got a
think
little
you're.
bit
I don't
fixed.
think you're.
I
Like,
will say,
I can count on like one hand, on probably one finger. I'm thinking. No, probably one hand. The number of times you've been moody in the past year.
yeah. The year's only half over, though. Just kidding. Just kidding. I will say, and this is like from my perspective, I do just get really quiet when I'm in a bad mood. But like, it's not necessarily, I think, that I'm moody. It's that like when I am in a bad mood sometimes, like something that you would have done like yesterday, I would have just brushed off. But like if I am already in a bad mood and then it's just like maybe the tip that goes over the straw. So it's situational.
And again, so
And
is that moody or is that,
yeah.
strife in a relationship? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, again, I think that's hard to say, but I think at the end of the day, it's kind of the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
it depends on the situation. It can definitely hurt our feelings because we do have feelings as guys.
Yeah.
They're just buried way deep down inside.
So this last question is funny. Do you snore?
I don't know. Do I?
Yes. Except for
I sleep through it.
yeah. So, but you only snore when you sleep on your back. So I just push you over.
I
onto your
actually
side.
did know that I snored because before we were married and I would sleep in your brother's room, your brother Anthony, all the time. Sebastian, you snore so loudly. Like every single time I would come up.
That's true.
I think he even woke me up in the middle of the night one time. Actually, I know he did. Yeah,
Yeah.
he definitely woke me up.
My
one
brothers
time.
would have totally stuffed you with a pillow. I just like turn you over onto your side, and you are very grouchy when you're sleeping.
It's
Like
my alter ego. He's
when-
very dark and disturbed
Yeah.
and angry in the night.
I guess like when you're not awake, and sometimes I'll try to turn you over. And you're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You're snoring so loud." I cannot sleep with snoring. I will say this has only happened once, and for all the years that we've been married, there was one time you were snoring really loudly, and I couldn't. I felt bad because you were sick. You had a sinus like infection, so I went and slept on the guest mattress because I was just like, I can't sleep with you snoring.
It was very kind of you.
Yeah, thanks. Anyway, that was all the questions. So
But I forgot one answer to the question from the beginning. You asked what I do.
yeah, what do
And
you do?
I forgot one thing that I do. So like I am a PT. So I go in and I talk to people. It's kind of part of my job. It's also part of my job to make them feel better.
Oh dear.
And so part of that is like what kind of mood you're in. So I tell jokes.
Yes.
So technically I'm a professional joke teller. If you think
Yeah.
about it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave you all with a joke.
Oh,
This
no.
is like my favorite joke. All right. What is brown and sticky?
A stick.
Yes. It's not poop. It's a stick.
If you ask Landon, though, he'd probably say poop. Anyway, if you guys like this, shoot us a message and let us know. I hope
Thank
it
you
was
for listening to
entertaining.
today's episode of Balancing Hormones Naturally. If you found this helpful, I would love for you to share it with a friend and post it on your stories and tag Balancing Hormones Naturally podcast so we can get this message out. You can find me on Instagram at Leah_BRUEG, and I would absolutely love to hear from you.